Alright, let's talk about how despite me having a fursuit for over 5 years at this point, I just did my first ever Fursuit Parade at Anthro New England 2025. And it was pretty good. Nothing to really complain about. I mean, it wasn't spectacular, amazing, life-changing, but it was a new thing to try. I had a good time. Got to walk around a con space with friends in suit and not get stopped, and you know what, it was pretty good. How can I complain about that? But when it comes to doing the usual furry convention experience, for me, it usually just entails registering for the con and then hitting up Dealer's Den like once or twice that weekend. Maybe the occasional panel, like the inflatable panel, or if someone wants to put me in their inflatable attire panel, I'll show up to that. But overall, I don't really do the furry convention experience. I maybe see it from a distance. I've seen a fursuit parade before, but I've never really partaken in one, especially as a fursuiter who has been fursuiting for at least 5 years now. Which I know, it's not really that big of a deal at the end of the day. Make the furry convention experience you want. If you don't end up getting to it, you don't end up getting to it. I mean, granted, every time I thought of a fursuit parade, it was always with regards to the Anthrocon fursuit parade that some people call the Death Walk, because you're in fursuit and the whole event is like a big thing that's celebrated by the city too. Like with Anthrocon being one of the biggest furry conventions out there, and with the popularity of it growing more and more, the parades have only been more and more extravagant or lengthy. And so the more people are there, the longer it'll take to get over however many thousands of people from point A to point B in a line. So with Anthrocon's Fursuit Parade, it's at least 2 hours from my knowledge, and you're out in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania heat in July. No thank you. I will not be having any more. There's such a thing as too much. I know some of you are saying, oh, I'm never stopping when that thing's going. You're lying to yourself. But either way, going around in a fursuit parade didn't really interest me. I could watch it just fine, but never really went out of my way to go out and participate in it. And usually that's because the parades start very early into the afternoon usually, sometimes in the morning or so, which you're not getting my ass out of bed, usually on a Saturday, to get in fursuit and walk around. I'm gonna do that at my own pace, and that usually is me starting fursuiting at around like 2 to 3 p.m. Which luckily the fursuit parade at A&E this year started at 1:45, or at least the cutoff was 1:45 to get into the room. So it worked out a bit more conveniently from my hungover ass, which was absolutely going to be partying and drinking till 5 a.m. the night before, but it all worked out in the end, and I was able to participate in my first ever fursuit parade this last convention. So fursuit parades, if you don't know, are pretty much the staple event at any sort of furry convention. You'll have one where fursuiters will walk around a set path around a convention, usually starting somewhere in like the main ballroom or main stage area, and then it trekking all the way back there, and then you kind of go off and disperse, or you take a fursuit photo of all the fursuiters at the con, or you did that before you even left like a smart person, because when you've got me walking around in fursuit for at least 30 minutes, I'm not going to want to go back to the main room and wait to get a picture taken. Nah, you should have gotten that before. So yeah, furry conventions that do that, where you take it before, good call, because I sure as hell wasn't returning back. Not to the con, to say, but to the big room that we were all in before and trapped in. They're pretty much one of the core events to any furry convention out there, besides opening and closing ceremonies and maybe a dance comp, because the Fursuit Parade highlights the amount of fursuiters that are at the convention. Granted, it doesn't mean every fursuiter who's there goes to the Fursuit Parade like it's a requirement, but it's a good opportunity to pretty much highlight all the variety of fursuiters, fursuits, characters out there at a convention. That's why you usually see the big Fursuit Con photo taken of the con, taken right before or after the Fursuit Parade. And in the time that I have been to over 40 furry conventions, I've only really witnessed a few from a distance, but especially, I haven't participated in one till this last convention I went to, which was Anthro New England 2025. It took me at least 30 furry conventions with a fursuit to do a fursuit parade. Look, I know realistically why I haven't in that time, but it's kind of surprising that I hadn't in all that time, especially knowing the fursuit parade is kind of the first thing many fursuiters want to try doing when they first get their fursuit. Like when you're going around at a con, you really just kind of want to show it off and go around and walk around and get pictures taken and wave hi to people. You know, you want to interact, and the best way to do that usually is the fursuit parade. Now, the reasons why is simply because I'm lazy and it doesn't line up usually with my furry convention experience. I have a very particular routine with what I like doing at cons, which is something I'm trying to break this year as sort of a late New Year's resolution, where at the furry conventions that I'm going to for this year onward, I want to try at least one new thing that I haven't done already at a furry convention period. And that goes for each convention I go to. With A&E, it was a fursuit parade. With FWA, say for example, I don't know what I'll end up doing there, but we'll find out at some point. A lot of my furry convention experiences almost entirely revolve around spending time with friends, whether that's different friend groups or one core friend group throughout the entire con. Whenever people do things like fursuiting, going to get food, going to other events, I usually want to join them, or I want to organize my own events to go to with friends. And especially with fursuit parades, they happen either on the Friday or Saturday of the con, usually in the late morning, early afternoon time. So my hungover ass, who was drinking till 5 a.m. the night prior, doesn't want to rip his ass out of bed, get all ready, get in fursuit, and head over to a fursuit parade in which I'm going to walk around for at least an hour. And you know, absolutely true. If I've been running off of 6 hours of sleep, why would I want to get in fursuit and have to put on a character to some extent? Which I will say, from my point of view, with being YouTuber man BetaEtaDelota, sadly, for me, when I get in fursuit, it's kind of an ordeal with going about at a con. Like, many times, at least nowadays, there have been lines forming for me. And this isn't to brag, this isn't to complain, it's just the reality of how things are for me. So when I'm going out and about in fursuit, I kind of have to prep myself for it, unless I have like a really good handler. And so running off of no sleep, getting up, getting in fursuit, walking around for at least an hour, where I thought I'd be stopped like every few moments, I had really no interest in doing a fursuit parade. And it's not because I saw it as a bad thing overall, it's just something that didn't entice me. It wasn't me being like, oh, I am dying to get up at this time to go here, when realistically I could do that at any point during a con. You don't need to do a fursuit parade at all, even if you have a fursuit. And that's kind of the mentality that I took. Unless I was really required to go, which at this point I kind of was, because I set it as a sub-goal incentive for my birthday stream, which, again, thank you guys for the love and support on that. You guys are so kind and lovely to me. I really thank you. And for that sub-goal incentive, I decided I would do my first ever fursuit parade, because why not? Give it a shot. If I don't live stream it, I'll at the very least record it and then talk about it in a video. Either way, what happened at the fursuit parade? What is the play-by-play for what I ended up doing? Well, luckily, despite partying till like 3 to 4 a.m. the night prior, I still managed to wake up at the bright and early time of 10 in the morning. It was the Saturday morning of Anthro New England, and so the fursuit parade was happening at around 1:30 to 1:45 that time. The doors opened to the fursuit parade at 1:30 and would close at 1:45. The parade would start at around 2 p.m., so it wasn't really a time crunch for me to be able to get in fursuit within give or take a 3-hour period. So I kind of took my time with waking up for the day, took a shower, went downstairs to the Omni Cafe, got a coffee and a breakfast sandwich, talked with some friends, and then slowly got into fursuit to get to the fursuit parade right in time for 1:30. The parade ended up starting in the main ballroom / main stage area, which is pretty much the biggest space to accommodate an immense amount of fursuiters, which are waiting there to take the fursuit photo for the con and get on with the parade. When I entered, I found my friends immediately. I was with Helljumper, Dusky, and I ended up running into my friend Rano, which, if you're wondering, yes, that is an IKEA harness, and it is hot as fuck. This is when Helljumper showed me how the tripod worked and got that all set up for me, and I pretty much just took off my hand paw and held the selfie stick in the other hand. I just had my fursuit paw on. So yes, I was breaking the magic and poodling, not fully in fursuit, but I needed to hold the tripod somehow. It was just going to slip out of my hands in suit. And the room was pretty much filled to max capacity, so we were in the very back, or pretty much where the entrance was supposed to be, and the door just kind of closed because there wasn't any more space in there. But for the remaining time before the fursuit parade, which I believe started at 2 p.m. or so, I ended up just chatting with friends, chatted with Rano and Helljumper and Dusky, a couple of other fursuiters who came by to say hi and wanted to chill and chat, and then I ended up getting my camera ready for recording. So once the fursuit photo happened, after that they opened the other door on the adjacent side of the room where the fursuit parade would begin, and then people started filing out one by one in a line. And so it ended up taking, give or take, 15 minutes or so for us to get out of the room, which, hey, realistically wasn't bad for that being a room, like a main ballroom, main stage area filled with people, especially people in big, fluffy, hot, animal costumes, some hotter than others, but it really wasn't even that bad in there. It wasn't sweltering or baking, and by the time it was getting hot, you were already outside, walking pretty much outside in the Boston cold. Which I will say it was the perfect weather being in fursuit. Like, literally, it couldn't have been any more cold or warm. It worked perfectly. It was so good. There were plenty of furries with all sorts of expensive cameras that I wish I could have, but they ended up having and taking plenty of different photos of me and other fursuiters that came by, which actually I ended up finding a lot of these photos posted on FurTrack later that weekend. But the parade was pretty cool overall. It was a lot of chatting with friends, having random shenanigans, doing little dances, holding this really awkward selfie stick, and yes, I didn't end up having my right fursuit paw on, I just ended up holding it the whole goddamn time, and it worked out a lot better than I thought. Nothing really spectacular or eventful happened during it. It was just a lot of people calling out to me, saying hi, and me waving back, and saying hi to them, giving high fives. People wanted high fives in the crowd. A lot of fursuit photographers were just taking photos as you pass by, and some of the photos that I ended up getting taken of me were really, really good. And that's the other thing too, I had no clue how I looked before that fursuit parade, because it's hard for me to see what I look like in fursuit, so I just kind of assumed, oh, I looked pretty okay, but nah, I looked pretty good. And you know what's the fun part that I'm starting to notice? I look like I've lost weight, which, that feels good. That feels really good. Throughout the time, I got to chat and hang out with my friends Helljumper, Dusky, Rano, and even when I ended up falling behind in the fursuit parade, there was just a bunch of other fursuiters in that group who I got to chat with and hang out with and say hi to. There was even someone in the group that I think had a speaker on them, which I know it's sort of the taboo thing to be playing music and blasting it out and about at a FurCon, but here's the only caveat. Here's the one rule with it. If it's good music and adds to the vibe of what you're doing, that rule does not apply. And the music that they were playing was pretty goddamn good. I think the best experience for me, and I hope no one takes this the wrong way, I was able to go from point A to point B without being stopped. And especially with it being a fursuit parade, you can't really stop at all. You gotta keep going or you go off to the side. And for me, whenever someone usually notices me or wants to say hi, it's kind of a longer experience than just a wave hi and keep going. And so to be able to keep doing that while being in fursuit and keep with the energy, keep being a weird derpy floaty dog, it was really fun. Having that whole vibe of going around, being completely unbroken and just being constantly in sort of the character, the motion of doing what you're doing, that was really fun. I think that was the biggest highlight for me. Because, you know, with my experience of being known, it ends up being a little bit overwhelming socially, and because it usually isn't just a hi bye sort of thing, it's sometimes a bit more in depth. Some people want to get a picture, some people just want to get a hug and say hi, and some people want to tell me about their entire life story in the span of 10 minutes. I don't know why, but that just happens to me. Somehow I get roped into this, and that's just how it is, you know? I don't blame anyone. I don't mean to make anyone feel bad. This is just what it is. So with all that in mind, and with my experiences with fursuiting at A&E in general that year, it was really nice to have sort of a curated experience where I could just keep going in one direction and keep enjoying this one thing that I'm doing without interruption. And it's not to say anyone's interrupting, it's just when you're in the flow of walking out and about and doing the dog thing in fursuit, and that's just how it is for me, you want to keep with the vibe and keep going with it, and sometimes that can be broken. Like, I got to see the whole convention space too without it taking a long time to go throughout it. Like, by the time you were going in the fursuit parade, you were walking and going. And it was really fun. I mean, despite the weather being gloomy and dreary, I mean, hey, I still like that weather in the middle of January. Having it dry and cold, especially cold when you're in fursuit, is chef's kiss. Perfect fursuit weather. But overall, the interactions were pretty warm, the experience was fun, and it was especially made better by the friends that I ended up getting to do it with, which I guess the lesson is, which goes pretty much in most places in life, everything's better with friends. Fursuit parades are especially better with friends. I think the best part too is that everyone's just so default to being big fluffy animal that even if you get lost in line in the fursuit parade and you can't find your friends or people you were going with, and you're with all these other fursuiters, that's still an opportunity for you to get to meet other people in fursuit and say hi, and most others are very welcoming and just want to like chat and go around with you, which is really cool. The vibes are just overall welcoming and chill. It literally is just a celebration of being in character, of being in fursuit. And I think that's just what really people want to do at the end of the day, whether it's meeting new people that you might be next to crowded in this big room in the big main ballroom, or someone that you stumble upon in the fursuit parade itself. You know, it just ends up being a fun time. But either way, the experience overall was pretty fun. It wasn't overly extravagant. It wasn't where there were any super big highlight experiences. I mean, I did see my fursuit crush like walking by too, and I'm like, I wish I could get out of line to say hi to you or ask you if you could pin me up against the wall and put out a cigarette on my arm. Oh my God. Don't actually do that to me, please. I'd like it if you didn't. And also, being told what to do is nice, because by the time I got out of the parade, I'm like, hey, where do I go? And they're like, Fursuit Lounge is over there. The big ballroom is there. I'm like, wow, Fursuit Lounge. And they're like, go that way. I'm like, I like being told what to do. Thank you. And then I gave them a big hug, and then I went on my way to the Headless Lounge. So overall, the experience, I think, ended up taking, give or take, an hour to an hour and a half, which for, I'd like to think, a medium-sized furry convention like Anthro New England really isn't that bad. I mean, the space itself was weird to finagle around from what I saw, but the parade was pretty fun. I got to do it with friends. I got to say hi to Rano and, you know, have some fun conversations with people who came and went throughout the place we were in line. I got some amazing photos, which I'm very grateful for, and the experience was just me walking around in fursuit, and it ended up being a lot more fun than I expected it to. Because see, that's the thing, when you minimize it to just walking around in fursuit, you know, I could do that at any point. I kind of technically do it with going around a con space in fursuit, but ultimately, I would honestly prefer it over just kind of going around the con space as is, if that makes sense. Like trading it in terms of, I guess, social experiences too and interactions, that was also pretty fun. But either way, it was something new that I got to try. Granted, you know, most people would have done it at this point in their fursuiting career, but I'm glad that I ended up getting to do it. I'm glad the experience was good overall. It left a good impression on me wanting to do it in the future. And hey, maybe at some point I'll do the Death Walk at Anthrocon. They probably want me to stop calling it the Death Walk, but that's what some people call it. But either way, that was my first Fursuit Parade experience, and on that note, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this, be sure to let me know in the comments. I greatly appreciate all the support and all of you guys' attention to what I'm doing. It really means a lot, because I know you could be doing literally anything else, but the fact that you want to watch a random dude go through a Fursuit Parade, I think that's pretty cool, and maybe I'm doing something good, but who knows? If you want to see the full unedited, or I guess semi-edited footage of my full Fursuit Parade experience, no edits, maybe minimal music depending on what I gotta cut out, just kind of showing what the experience was like, there will be a video of that linked in the description below. It's on my Boodles channel as well. If you haven't subscribed there already, go and check that out. And also, if you want to see my full Anthro New England con recap, which I just uploaded like the other day, I'm saying this like 2 days into the future, then go and check out that video too on my Boodles channel. And I guess this is an announcement too. That channel kind of serves as my stream highlight stuff and like con recap hub. So if you want to see me talk about con stuff or anything else live, or you like the stream highlight stuff that I used to do, that is the channel to go to. So please do that. I try to upload more fun stuff there that isn't an obligation. So either way, that's about going to do it for me. Have a wonderful night. Take care. Life stay jacket. Treat people like people. And that's about it. See you later, guys.